Hey, welcome back to another week of college football. Week 9, doing the recap and review of the games this weekend. Some good to see some teams back. One game got canceled out of our preview predictions, the Wisconsin-Nebraska game. As you may notice, Alex isn't with us. He's expecting his first child, so he won't be here for this week or next week's videos as well. But we're here joined again with Chad. Matt's back as well. I think we fared okay this weekend. I know some games got us, burned us, but we'll get right into it. Matt, you want to start us off with the Georgia-Kentucky game?
Well, believe it or not, this game, guys, was not what I expected it to be. I expected us to get absolutely manhandled in this game. I didn't expect it to be 14-3 as the final. I expected something like 35-10 or something like that. But Kentucky's defense held strong on several occasions. It's just what's been the last couple of weeks since the Ole Miss game. We can't get our offense going at all. I don't know what's going on. It's just there's definitely going to need to be some changes this week on the bye week for sure. But
Now
Georgia,
they went with Joey Gatewood.
Yeah, we went to Joey Gatewood.
What changes do you foresee them making?
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to have to do. I don't know if they're going to have to leave. I don't know if they give Terry a shot when we in 2 weeks when we play Vandy, or they leave Joey in there for another game, or Stoops just interferes and makes a whole big time change to the offense, which obviously that's not going to happen. But
yeah,
if that happens, that's not going to happen until the offseason. So
yeah,
I don't know. The offense. I mean, yeah, we had a 100-yard rusher, but we couldn't. Chris Rodriguez rushed for over 100 yards on his home state team. Like I said, defense looked really solid. Kept Stetson Bennett from he couldn't throw the ball at all on us. We did intercept him twice, but we couldn't contain their run game, though. They rushed for over 130 yards and a touchdown on us. So, of course, that touchdown ultimate ended up being this signature score for them. So,
yeah, it was a running affair for sure. I think that was one of the fastest first quarters I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You blinked that it was over.
Yeah.
Both teams were running the ball really well on each other. I don't know what Kentucky can do to fix this. They don't have.
Yeah.
It seems like what happened last year with the quarterback situations is absolutely screwed Kentucky for a couple of seasons, at least with the continuity. I know they still have – they wanted Terry Wilson to improve his passing game, be more accurate down the ball. But let's just be real, he lost two of the best targets that they had. I mean, Lynn Bowden and Wagner. Those are hard guys to replace. They don't – to me, it seems like Kentucky just doesn't have – when you're not very accurate or have your timing of your routes down, you need bigger wide receivers or quick passes out there on the slants. The problem is that Kentucky's so good at running the ball, teams are loading the box up. So you have to attack the team vertically, and they just don't have those big receivers that can go up and win 50-50 balls like they did last year. Just no quarterback last year. So it seems like Kentucky is just in no man's land because of the situation. They had Gunnar Hope? He transferred out, right?
Yeah, he's actually Gunnar Hope's at Ohio State now. Yeah, he's Justin Fields' backup.
And you had the kid that ended up going down there to Miami and played last year, Williams.
At him, yeah.
Jared Williams. It's just been rough for Kentucky. It's the one position that they don't have. They can't afford to have bad play, and they're just getting consistently bad play for the last 2 seasons. Obviously, with the ridiculously running talent of Flynn Bowden, I mean that kept them. It kept the season interesting last year, but the story continues. Until they can solidify that position, they're going to be middling the way they are.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just put it this way: if you had Patrick Tolles on this team, would you feel more confident week in, week out?
Yeah, I would,
If you-
because
if-
Tolles can throw.
Yeah.
So.
If you had, I mean, this might be a stretch, but even like a Morgan Newton, Kentucky would be more successful at passing the ball than they have been. It's just they don't have the targets to get those 50-50 balls, and they're not particularly accurate when they got players like Gatewood or Terry Wilson throwing the ball.
Right.
Did you get a chance to catch this game, Chet?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching bits and pieces of it, and honestly, like talking about the quarterbacks for Kentucky, but I think you're saying the same thing if you're a Georgia fan with Stetson Bennett. I mean, he did not look good. You know, if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm thinking this cannot be the guy. If we want to be, you know, a top 5, top 4 team, you know, Georgia's one of those teams they talk about for maybe that number 4 spot, depending on how the rest of their season plays out. But I mean, if he's playing like that, there's no shot. There's no shot as you look at him in the playoff committee, even if they win out the rest of the season and he plays like that, you don't think that football team's going to win a championship like that.
And what's concerning for a Georgia fan, it's got to be, is you had a bye week, and you came out of the bye week, and you decided to stick with Stetson Bennett. Like, you were at least, if you were wanting to go out and just, you know, give another player a shot. You
give him a shot, yeah.
A Kentucky game, no offense, Matt, but you think in the Kentucky game you would want to go ahead and get him started because you're playing Florida next week, regardless of how you feel about Florida's defense. You want to have a quarterback that can pass the ball vertically and make consistent deliveries and handle the pocket really well. They didn't do it. You know, they decided to just stick to running the ball, which is working for them, and have a quarterback that is just going to manage the game. And unfortunately for Kentucky, they just couldn't make them pay. They held their offense in check. They were able to solidify on third downs what they needed to do. But Kentucky just could not make them pay in this game. I think we all went Georgia, of course, in this matchup.
Yep.
Oh, next game. Oh, man. Shocker of the week, in my opinion. LSU gets absolutely destroyed by Auburn. And I know that they have the statistics and everything. You know, worst LSU loss since 1996. Auburn, I mean, it's got to be one of them. I mean, it's just, I have nothing for it. I mean, Auburn's offense was clicking all day long. We knew LSU had question marks, but we thought that they may have shored some things up because they played a pretty talented South Carolina team. Say what you will about the play calling for South Carolina. So you thought that their defense kind of showed up a little bit and got things right, but their defense was lost all day long. I mean, leaving guys out in the flat wide open for huge plays, and Auburn just being able to convert on all of them. I mean, that's something we have not seen from Auburn at all this season, is be able to efficiently continue drives and put points on the board. And then the biggest shocker is, what the hell happened to LSU's offense? I mean, LSU's been putting up 41 points every game. And then against an Auburn team who we've seen, you know, struggle at times against Georgia in the half, the first half at least. I mean, letting Georgia run the ball all over them. And then some teams have been able to pass the ball pretty efficiently against them as well. I know Ole Miss didn't have a hard time passing the ball against them. So it seems that that quarterback just came back to earth for LSU. I think they have to go with Brennan again when he's healthy and available, because Brennan was at least throwing the ball for 300 yards a game. You got to at least go back to that. Anybody else have any thoughts about this one?
I mean, they just weren't clicking on either side of the ball. I mean, LSU gave up 3 turnovers. Auburn gave up 1. So, of course, that's, you know, there's a difference there. But LSU gave up 506 yards.
Yeah.
That's a lot for an SEC team that was a powerhouse in defense for the last, 10 years. I mean, that's a lot of yards to a team that hasn't looked that good this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This was really the only other game I really sat down and watched. And just from what I saw, LSU's offense was making Auburn's defense look like the '85 Bears. It was like, good lord. I was like, oh my lord. And let me also say this: LSU just helped save Gus Malzahn for another year at Auburn. Regardless what happens the rest of the season, he'll be head coach next year. So LSU helped him out tremendously.
Yeah, here it is again. You got South Carolina beating Auburn, saving the Muschamp's job, and now LSU sacrificing themselves to keep Malzahn still around. Rinse and repeat. Next year we'll see the same thing again. But yeah, I'm absolutely blown away by Auburn. And depending on how you look at this, who is the second best team in the West? I mean, A&M has to be solidified as the second best team. I know they've looked less than impressive against Vanderbilt. They looked terrible against Alabama. They looked great against Florida, and they looked great again this weekend against Arkansas. We'll go ahead and jump into that. I think we all had L's that week, right? Nobody picked Auburn. Not that I think the only games we really deferred on was the Arkansas A&M game and then the Wisconsin Nebraska game. But we'll jump right into that Arkansas A&M game. A&M was really impressive again. That offensive line, man, it has to be the key for A&M at this point. I mean, you know what you're going to get from Kellen Mond. He's not the most consistent passer in the world. You got great tight end. You got good receivers. You got a running back that's very serviceable. It's the offensive line. I mean, there was clean pockets all day long. And we have not seen a single team play Arkansas and keep their quarterback clean. I mean, that was huge. That was really impressive from A&M. Matt, you want to cover a little bit more of that game? Oh, my God, that one was slated you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to see hardly anything of this game, but from what I went back and watched the highlights of it, and A&M just looked like they could do whatever they wanted last night. I thought, with Sam Pitt being I thought he was a defensive guy at first, but of course their defense just got shredded by A&M, and that's the most points A&M's put up this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how many did they put? How many put it up this week?
42.
42.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had 41, I think, against Florida. I think the final score
41. Okay.
38, 41.
Yeah. But I guess I agree with you, though. I think A&M pretty much solidified themselves as second best in the West right now.
Yeah. And they're in the unique position where they've already lost to Alabama.
Yeah.
If they handle the rest of their schedule, which they should, they played the two hardest teams on their schedule already. They played Alabama and Florida. They have LSU and Auburn, obviously, still on their schedule. And then out of the East, they still have Tennessee to play, which they play, I believe, this week. They should be able to run the table and stay in that second. And pray to God that Alabama loses 2 games to Auburn, LSU. Any of them going to beat them? No. But they'll be in the position where they can kind of still, if we're talking about Oklahoma State, that team picks up another loss, and the Pac-12 don't look too good. A&M could be in the hunt for a playoff spot at the end of the year.
Yeah.
The one-loss team losing to Alabama. I mean, that's pretty good on your resume. They may not have a lot of quality wins. Florida, Auburn could sneak back up there because Auburn hasn't lost games. They lost 2 games so far. Georgia and who was Auburn's other one? South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, so Auburn could sneak back up in the top, 20, 15 or something like that.
Right.
So that could be another quality win if they can win that game. But they're basically playing still for the playoffs. They're not going to be in the SEC championship game. Go ahead and talk about it. But it was just impressive. I mean, Arkansas's defense has been able to smack offensive lines around, and Arkansas was not able to do anything to A&M. Their offense didn't look bad though. Arkansas
No.
today. So that wide receiver Arkansas's got is ridiculous. Have they even gotten their running back yet?
I don't think so.
Like preseason SEC, like second team
Raheem
running
Boyd?
back? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
He's been hurt since week 1.
I don't think they've gotten him back yet.
That's crazy. Yeah. Nothing else I got for that game. Anybody else?
Nope.
And then moving on to the next one, you got Florida returning back to action. First time in 3 weeks wearing the 1965 throwback uniforms. Game looked like pretty sloppy, pretty bad for Florida's offense at the beginning. It did look like they hadn't practiced in a while. You definitely saw the fatigue early, which was surprising for the offensive line. They just weren't playing smart, playing physical. They were playing ginger. They could barely even move down the field. It took a ridiculous play by Kadarius Toney to turn the offense around. I don't know. You guys saw that video I sent out. Absolute nuts. I mean, the man's got the best balance in college football. No one can bring him down. And then, of course, Florida's defense come up with a turnover, Missouri mistake, fumbled handoff exchange, and then Florida put another 7 points up right after that. I mean, the fireworks started happening. Of course, there was a brawl at halftime.
Yeah.
Florida, kind of a weird ending to the half. You had 3 on-time down plays where Missouri just kept committing penalties. And Florida kind of ran a ball, got 30-something yards, and then they threw a penalty flag saying it was offside. And so Florida ran another play where they just chucked it to the end zone to Kyle Pitts and see if Kyle Pitts could come down in triple coverage with it. He did not, but the real story of that play was Kyle Trask gets licked very late, 3 or 4 steps late. This guy comes in and hits him above his shoulders, and that sent Florida's – really it wasn't the players on the field. It was, Dan Mullen and the rest of the bench got fired up and came up to midfield and was exchanging words with Missouri's bench. They took exception to that. Punches were thrown. Players were ejected. There will be more players suspended after the SEC reviews it. But then in the second half, it was a lot more of a cleaner game. I mean, everybody kind of got level-headed. Florida's offense woke up. Florida's defense looked really impressive in this game still yet.
Yeah.
And that was shocking. I mean, you had Florida was struggling all season long. They lose 3 of their starting defensive backs, and then add that to 4 backup defensive backs. They had the third string safety out there, a second string, third string safety. They had on the corner. They had the 5th string corner out there, 6th string, and the 1st string. So they had the number 1 corner, the 5th, and the 6th best corners out there playing. And they even got some playing time for the 8th and the 9th. Florida was really hurt on position group. But I think I said it in our video last week. What solidified this defense was getting their captain back. Kyrie Campbell just owned the offensive line. He was not necessarily a huge force of getting into the backfield and making sacks, but what he did was he took on multiple blocks and plugged holes all day long in the middle of the field. And that's where Florida's been really exposed, is people running the ball straight up the gut against them. It was really nice to see Kyrie Campbell just go in there and really, 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 really mature that defensive line real quick. They're going to need that play going forward. Any of you catch this game? I know Chad was watching a different game at the time. Did you catch any of this, Matt?
No, buddy. I didn't catch any of it. I was at a Halloween party last night when it was going on.
Oh, okay.
But I did go and see the highlights this morning, and 2 things that I took away from it was, of course, the brawl. That was insane. I always love watching a good brawl, no matter what sport it is.
Yeah.
But and then the second thing is, like you've already talked about, was your all's defense. That's the best your all's defense looked in the last several games.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Really impressive. Shut down that pass happy of an offense that Missouri is, with guys you probably pulled out of the stands to come play for you. It's like, but yeah, that defense looked really impressive. Looked like a top 5 unit last night.
Yeah.
From what I saw, because I only watched some highlights of it, but that Kadarius Toney,
he's unbelievable.
he's an athlete. Like, he made some plays that make you kind of scratch your head. Like, how did he do that, man? The way he stays up, though, he just finds the end zone. He's a beast.
Oh yeah.
That was what I was going to bring up. Is I think the rest of the country learned when you decide you're going to double team and take Kyle Pitts out of the game, that's what you're going to end up getting. You get another guy that plays slot. I mean, they flex him out there now, but his true position is slot. So you're going to have Pitts and Toney in the slot positions in the middle of the field. You can't double both. So if you're going to take one person out of the game, the other one's just going to dominate you. And yeah, you're right, Chad. I mean, Kadarius Toney has always been kind of one of those unbelievable athletes. Every time you get him the ball, something crazy is going to happen.
Yeah.
In the past, it used to be east-west kind of football. He'd run, 100 yards just to gain 7.
Yeah.
Fun nuts. But he's really mature. He's a good route runner now. And you can see it. I mean, he's a weapon. He's a huge weapon for Florida. All right, and then let's talk about the big one. Dad, you want to give us the absolute primetime game of the week?
Yeah, and Ohio State, Penn State. It was a night game. I was excited. It's a little hard to be excited because usually you've got the whiteout crowd at Penn State in a game like this, and anything could happen. I think if they had Micah Parsons and Journey Brown, I think that this would have been like one of the best games of the year in all of football. But I mean, I'm sure as you guys saw, it didn't start out that way. I think the first play of the game was Garrett Wilson was a 61-yard sweep. Garrett Wilson, he took it almost to the house, took it to like the 5-yard line, and we ran it in with Teague. I mean, they started off really hot. So just some of the stats. I mean, Garrett Wilson had 173 yards, 61 of those rushing, and then I think it was like 111 or 112, whatever it was, receiving. They've been splitting times between their running backs right now, between Trey Sermon and Master Teague. At least they did last week, and that question's been up in the air. Is it going to be Master Teague or Trey Sermon that gets the majority of the carries? And in this game, it was Master Teague. He had 23 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. One of the things that I was super excited about Ohio State this week was that Justin Fields finally got Jeremy Ruckert involved. So Jeremy Ruckert was, he's a tight end. Last year, he didn't throw to the tight end that much. Jeremy Ruckert didn't see too many targets, and he got him involved a lot this week. He got him 2 touchdowns. Justin Fields was 28 for 34 for 318 yards. So their offense, I mean, they were just on fire. And then, what I talked about last week being worried about for Ohio State was definitely going to be their defense. I think their defense really stepped up. Tommy Togiai, I hadn't even heard his name before yesterday. I'm not going to lie to you. He ended up getting 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. So he really stepped up for our defensive line. And then Marcus Hooker, he got an interception that kind of sealed the deal. I know you guys saw the score was 38-25, but I don't know if you paid attention to any of the highlights or anything like that. The game wasn't that close.
No.
It wasn't that close. We didn't capitalize on a few things, so we missed 2 field goals. Also, the game's about to go to half, right? And Justin Fields takes a knee, and I see him head into the locker room. And I go up. I think I'm going to grab a beer. And I come back, and Penn State's kicking a field goal. And all of a sudden, 3 points Penn State. And I guess the officials had reviewed it, and Justin Fields took a knee at like 1 millisecond before the clock actually hit 0. It gave Penn State the ball, and they got one play to kick a field goal. So I was like, come on, man. But Yeah, I mean, it was a fun game to watch. For Penn State side, Jahan Dotson at receiver, he made an incredible catch. If you guys haven't checked out that highlight, I would definitely check it out because he looked like a beast. But it was pretty one-sided.
Yeah. I didn't catch much of the game with Florida being on at the same time. But it was impressive to see the stat lines for this game. Looks like Ohio State is, again, multiple in what they do. They can attack you in any way. They're not going to be just a Justin Fields show. Defense has definitely stepped up. I know you'd like to see him blank a team, but, you're playing a top 10 matchup here. It's not likely you're going to end up blanking a team. Penn State falls to 0-2. That was another note that I wrote down. That's shocking because when we going into the season, we were pretty convinced it was going to be Penn State, Ohio State, and a long shot with Wisconsin or Michigan. Penn State's already out of the picture completely. They have absolutely no hope. And you guys are still doing the East-West thing, right?
Yep, East-West. Okay. So, that's what I thought at the beginning of the season, too. Well, not at the beginning of the season, the beginning of COVID. Because, like I said, when the medical condition of Journey Brown came out and Micah Parsons opted out, that's when I kind of went, okay, this is probably not going to be the game that everybody thinks it is at this point because they lost. I mean, those guys are huge. You will see Micah Parsons is a beast. He's going to the NFL. Like, he's going to be awesome. And not having him, like, that hurts. That's a stud linebacker that would have terrorized Justin Fields, I think. And it does. It hurts their program. And I didn't think this game was going to be close. And when you look at it on paper, it might seem a little bit close, but it wasn't. It was very, very one-sided.
Okay. How did their tight end look? I didn't get to see much of him. Penn State. Did you even notice him out there on the field?
I didn't even notice him. I mean, their biggest standout, of course, Sean Clifford made some plays. He made some mistakes as well, but their biggest standout was receiver Jahan Dotson, and he just he had a couple plays at the end of the game. That's one thing about Penn State, too, is that you can just tell the talent on their team because they didn't roll over at any point. They always were fighting. Every single drive they made Ohio State work. And it was a fun game to watch for sure. Penn State's they'll be a good team again. It's just this year they're down.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked about the tight end was this kid was the second place in the tight end, whatever you call that. I don't even know what the award is, but second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The runner-up basically in that award. Kyle Pitts didn't even make the list. So I think as a Florida fan, it would be fun to watch him win it this year. But obviously, everybody pretty much is chalked up that Penn State tight end is the best one. We'll see.
I didn't even really pay attention enough.
He's not even making a splash against Ohio State. There's no way. They're already 0-2. He's not going to get a line card. What else happened in the Big Ten?
Well, the game that I was happiest about, I would say, is of course everybody knows the Michigan State game. Yeah. Michigan loses. I don't think anybody expected it, especially after last week. We just talked about. I think we were all in agreement. Michigan State just got beat by Rutgers. We're all thinking, oh man, Michigan State's the doormat this year, and they come out and they're fighting and. Michigan just doesn't look that good the whole time, and even the final score, I think it ended up being 27-24. They scored a touchdown in the last 3 minutes of the game. Michigan did, and I think it was actually like the last minute of the game to make it 27-24. It was 27-17, and they were playing from down, and Michigan State was just controlling the game. Rocky Lombardi had 323 yards and 3 touchdowns. He controlled the game in every aspect that he could. No turnovers for either team the entire game. And I think Michigan State just capitalized on the opportunities they had better.
Yeah, absolutely. I joked around about it, but I might be right. Is Rutgers the second best team in the Big Ten? I'm serious. Did they win this week?
No, Indiana beat them.
Indiana beat them 37-21.
Dang it. I thought I
will
really
say,
nailed that one
listen.
down. I thought I was going to go for an all-time record. But no.
But they played good again. It wasn't a crazy blowout or nothing like that. I mean, they were okay. I think that Rutgers isn't going to be the laughing stock that they have in the last few years, where it's like, why are they even in the Big Ten? It seems like they're going to compete in some capacity now, which is good to see. I mean, you love to see the conference as a whole look better, and they didn't. They played a good game against Indiana.
Now, is Maryland undefeated?
No, they lost their first game to Northwestern, and they just this week they beat Minnesota, and that's Friday night when that game was happening, and it was that back and forth, and Minnesota allowed 675 yards, 675 yards. So that's when I thought, you know what? I think I was hyping Michigan up a little bit. I don't know if they're as good as I thought they were, because they blew Minnesota out. And if you were talking about Minnesota last year, I think that would have been the case, if they had blown Minnesota out last year. But, I mean, they let up 675 yards. Now, Ibrahim, their running back from Minnesota, he did have 207 yards and 4 touchdowns. So, I mean, they've got something to be, excited about. But I don't really think any of these teams are as good as I thought they were. That's for sure.
No.
Hey,
Ohio State is 2 games in, and they're already ahead of everybody in the conference.
Yep.
That's the thing you take away here, and they're 2 games ahead of Penn State. So
yeah, I think that for me this weekend really solidified. I think this really solidified that Ohio State is the Big Ten champion this year. I don't really think that unless some kind of fluke happens to Michigan in the end of the year. I mean, the way that all the teams have played the last 2 weeks compared to Ohio State, I don't really think they're on the same level. And it just, you're kind of disappointed to see it because you want it to be competitive.
Let's see. Yeah, we still got to see if Alex's team. Wisconsin looked damn good in their first game.
They did.
I know it was Illinois, but Jesus, they looked good. They looked like what everybody wanted to see. Still a good defense, a passing attack. We'll see about the running game and see if they can really figure that out. But
guys, I don't know if Wisconsin's going to play this week. They're up to 22 new cases.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's one of the things about it is that I think you got to kind of count them out at this point, because what does that look like at the end for the standings, even for just the Big Ten West? I mean, right. If they don't have the games on their schedule, if they're missing 2 games already, is that just automatically count as a loss? And whoever has played those games, it's tough. That the protocol for the Big Ten sucks, and I mean this whole situation sucks, obviously. But man, it hurts. Like that kind of stuff isn't fun to see.
No, not at all. And
no,
even so, I mean, I know they just had an off season, but it is interesting to see if they do return back to football, how that's going to affect them. I know we saw Florida kind of struggle in the first half against Missouri. Missing all these games, and watching other teams play, particularly teams in your division, that's got to hurt for Wisconsin fans really badly. Hopefully they return back to action, even if they may not be in an official championship capacity. It's extremely disappointing for Wisconsin. You would have loved to see Ohio State play at Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship, even if it was going to be the same thing that we see most years where Ohio State is far more talented. It would have been fun to see that matchup. But that'll wrap it up for this week. How you guys feeling about the? Oh, we didn't go over the how this week ended up for each of us. There was only 5 games thanks to the Wisconsin game getting canceled. I'll give you my numbers. I went 3-2 this week.
3-2.
I went 3-2 as well for my picks.
Yeah.
That. You went 4-1, right?
Yeah, I think I went 4-1.
Because you had A&M.
A&M, yeah, I think that was the difference there.
Yeah.
I think you and Alex both had A&M. And then the only other game was me and Chad had Nebraska.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And I had Wisconsin. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm gonna check in on Alex's pick on the Arkansas A&M pick because there was one game I thought it was one of us had, and the other people.
I
Everybody else
think,
had.
and I could be wrong, but I think that me, you, and Alex picked Arkansas.
Arkansas.
And I'm pretty sure
That
Matt
was the
picked
only
A&M
one.
for that. I think that's what
Yeah.
it was.
He's the only Jimbo Fisher out here. So Matt, that means we're tied, Matt.
We're tied.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
pressure situation now.
All right.
You come all the way a comeback in the making.
Yeah.
Matt, you had a 1-game lead on me, right? And
Yeah.
then-
After the first week. Yeah.
and then we were tied, and then I just built a 2-game lead on you.
Yeah.
And then you just knocked that 2-game back off of me. We got to start mixing up our picks. That's what happened this week. Had 1 game different.
Yeah.
Technically. 1 game different, and it burnt me. Oh, we'll total it up and put it in the description below. But we do have plans to have another video on Tuesday, week 10, previews and predictions. Again, Alex will probably be out for that. He's expecting any time now. Actually, I think tomorrow is the day he's going to be a daddy. That's pretty hard to imagine there. Yeah, but we'll have the big games. We'll have I'll have to go back through them again because I think I have some of these wrong written down. I'm using the CBS app, and for whatever reason, it's not updating at all this year.
Mm.
So I'm going to make sure that I get the right matchups and the big matchups this week. Is Alabama playing LSU this week?
You don't even have Alabama on there.
I know. I thought they were playing this week, and I went on CBS, and all I saw was, the only thing in the SEC worth noting was the
Florida, Georgia.
game. Yeah. But I could have sworn they said that the LSU Alabama
No.
game's this week.
No, Bama's off this week.
So maybe they come back on the 14th and play.
Yeah.
I think the biggest game that I'm excited to talk about is going to be the Clemson Notre Dame with no Trevor Lawrence.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited
Absolutely.
about that.
And I'm excited to talk about him.
I mean,
I don't-
Clemson had to come back and beat Boston College.
Yeah, we could talk about that one. I mean, that was a scare for Clemson. I mean, you lose to Boston College. I mean, unless they're taken into account at the end of the year when they're looking at the playoffs that Trevor Lawrence is out that week, that hurts. That's a big loss.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they scraped it together.
If it wasn't for that, real quickly, as we're running out of time, if it wasn't for the Boston College game, I would say